The command echoed through the supermarket, "Hands up." James Wilson, a retired Black Army colonel, stood frozen in the cereal aisle, a gun pointed at him by a young, prejudiced cop. The tension was palpable, and the humiliation was unbearable. James Wilson, a 65-year-old retired Army colonel, was a decorated veteran with a Purple Heart. He had served in the military for 30 years, participating in numerous operations, including the Iraq War, where he earned his commendations for bravery and leadership. After retiring, James returned to his hometown of Maywood, a small, racially diverse town in North Carolina. Despite its diversity, Maywood was not immune to prejudice, a fact James was painfully reminded of on this fateful day. James had always been a man of discipline and integrity, values instilled in him through his military service. He was known for his calm demeanor and respect for the law, but he was also someone who would not back down in the face of injustice. His friendship with Tom Peterson, the local police chief, was a testament to his character. They had grown up together, sharing a bond that transcended their different career paths. While James went on to serve his country, Tom stayed in Maywood, rising through the ranks to become the police chief. James's return to Maywood was supposed to be a peaceful retirement, a chance to reconnect with old friends and enjoy a quieter life. However, the events at the supermarket would test his patience and resolve, challenging the very principles he had lived by. As a veteran, James had faced many adversities, but being treated as a criminal in his own town was a new and bitter experience. It was a typical Saturday afternoon when James decided to run some errands at the local supermarket, Maywood Fresh Mart. The store was bustling with weekend shoppers, and James, dressed casually in jeans and a light jacket, blended in with the crowd. As he navigated the aisles, he was unaware that he had caught the attention of Officer Mark Jenkins, a young and inexperienced cop patrolling the area. Jenkins, who had joined the Maywood Police Department a year ago, was known for his aggressive demeanor and deep-seated racial prejudices. He had a tendency to view black individuals with suspicion, a bias that was about to manifest in a dangerous way. As Jenkins observed James, he saw not a retired veteran but a suspicious figure, his prejudices clouding his judgment. Jenkins approached James with an air of authority, his voice loud and accusatory. "Hey, you! Stop right there," he barked, causing James to pause in his tracks. James turned to face the officer, maintaining his composure despite the unwarranted aggression. "Yes, officer. What seems to be the problem?" James asked politely. "You look suspicious," Jenkins replied bluntly, his eyes narrowing as he scrutinized James. "What are you doing here?" The question was absurd, given the setting, but Jenkins's tone left no room for doubt about his intentions. "I'm just shopping," James replied, his voice calm but firm. "I live here in Maywood." Jenkins was not convinced. "I need to see some ID," he demanded, his hand resting on the butt of his gun. James knew his rights and understood that Jenkins had no valid reason to ask for identification. "Officer, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just here to buy groceries," James explained, trying to defuse the situation. But Jenkins's mind was made up. His prejudices had already painted a picture of guilt, and he was determined to assert his authority. The situation was escalating, and James realized he needed to act carefully to avoid further provocation. The tension in the aisle was palpable as Jenkins's demands grew more aggressive. "Put your hands up," he shouted, his voice echoing through the supermarket. James, feeling the weight of the situation, slowly raised his hands, aware of the eyes of other shoppers on him. The humiliation was intense, but James's military training kicked in, helping him maintain his composure. James assessed his options quickly. Resistance was futile against an officer like Jenkins, whose mind was clouded by prejudice. Showing his military ID might provoke Jenkins further, possibly leading to a dangerous escalation. Instead, James decided to use a different approach, one that Jenkins wouldn't expect. "Officer," James said, his voice steady, "you're making a huge mistake. I'm a retired Army colonel, and I want to speak to your superior. I want to talk to Chief Peterson." Jenkins sneered, his expression full of disbelief. "The chief? You think you can scare me with that? Who do you think you are?" James met Jenkins's gaze, his eyes unwavering. "I'm calling Chief Thomas Peterson. He's a good friend of mine, and he won't be pleased with how you're treating me." Jenkins's confidence wavered for the first time. The mention of Chief Peterson, a respected figure in the community, introduced a sliver of doubt into his mind. Could this man really be telling the truth? James slowly lowered one hand, keeping it in Jenkins's line of sight, and reached for his phone. "I'm going to call him right now," he said, dialing Tom's number. The atmosphere in the aisle was tense, the other shoppers watching the scene unfold with bated breath. "Hello, Tom," James said when the call connected. "I'm at the Maywood Fresh Mart, and I'm having a bit of trouble with one of your officers." On the other end, Chief Peterson's voice was immediately serious. "What kind of trouble, James?" "Officer Mark Jenkins has a gun pointed at me," James explained, his voice calm but firm. "He thinks I'm suspicious just because I'm a black man shopping." There was a pause, then Tom's voice came through, filled with controlled anger. "Stay right there, James. I'm on my way." James ended the call, slipping the phone back into his pocket. He looked at Jenkins, whose face had turned pale. The reality of the situation was sinking in, and the fear of repercussions was evident in his eyes. The tension in the supermarket aisle was thick as James waited for Chief Peterson to arrive. Jenkins stood frozen, his gun still pointed at James, but his confidence had evaporated. The mention of the chief had shaken him, and he was beginning to realize the gravity of his actions. James remained calm, his military training helping him maintain his composure in the face of adversity. He knew that the situation could still escalate, but he also knew that help was on the way. The other shoppers, sensing the shift in dynamics, began to murmur among themselves, their eyes darting between James and Jenkins. Minutes later, the sound of a police car pulling up outside the supermarket signaled the arrival of Chief Peterson. He entered the store, his expression a mix of concern and anger as he made his way to aisle 7. The sight that greeted him was one he had hoped never to see, his old friend James standing with his hands raised, and Officer Jenkins with a gun drawn. "James, are you okay?" Tom asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. "I'm fine, Tom," James replied, lowering his hands. "But this officer here seems to have a problem with me shopping." Tom turned to Jenkins, his eyes cold and unforgiving. "Officer Jenkins, what do you think you're doing? This is Colonel James Wilson, a decorated veteran and a respected member of this community." Jenkins stammered, his bravado gone. I didn't know, Chief. I thought he was suspicious." "You thought wrong," Tom said sharply. "Turn in your gun and badge, Jenkins. You're suspended immediately." Jenkins's hands shook as he complied, the reality of his situation crashing down on him. He handed over his weapon and badge, his face pale and sweaty. "I'm sorry, Colonel Wilson," he mumbled, but his apology was hollow, driven by fear rather than remorse. Chief Peterson's presence brought a sense of order to the chaotic scene. He addressed the gathered crowd, assuring them that the situation was under control. His focus then returned to James, his expression softening as he spoke to his friend. "James, I'm truly sorry for what happened," Tom said, his voice filled with regret. "This should never have occurred, especially not to you." James nodded, appreciating the sentiment but still feeling the sting of the incident. "I know, Tom. But this isn't just about me. It's about ensuring this doesn't happen to anyone else." Tom agreed, his resolve firm. "I'll make sure of it. Jenkins's actions were unacceptable, and I'll see to it that he's held accountable." With Jenkins escorted out of the store, Tom and James took a moment to discuss the next steps. They agreed that an internal investigation was necessary to address the misconduct and prevent future incidents. Tom promised to oversee the process personally, ensuring transparency and fairness. As they spoke, the weight of the situation began to lift, replaced by a shared determination to effect change. James's experience, though painful, had highlighted the need for vigilance and accountability within the police force. It was a reminder that prejudice and abuse of power could not be tolerated, and that those entrusted with authority must be held to the highest standards. The internal investigation into Officer Jenkins's conduct was swift and thorough. Chief Peterson, committed to upholding the integrity of the department, initiated the process immediately. The Internal Affairs Division was tasked with gathering evidence and interviewing witnesses to build a comprehensive case. Surveillance footage from the supermarket provided a clear account of the incident. The video showed Jenkins's aggressive approach, his unwarranted demands, and the moment he drew his weapon on James. The footage was damning, leaving little room for Jenkins to defend his actions. Witnesses, including store employees and customers, corroborated the events captured on camera. Their testimonies painted a consistent picture of Jenkins's behavior, highlighting his prejudiced assumptions and abuse of power. James, with the professionalism of a seasoned veteran, provided a detailed statement, emphasizing the importance of accountability and justice. Jenkins, faced with overwhelming evidence, attempted to justify his actions, claiming he felt threatened. However, his arguments were weak, undermined by the clear evidence of his misconduct. His apologies, though frequent, were seen as insincere, motivated by a desire to salvage his career rather than genuine remorse. The disciplinary hearing was convened to address Jenkins's actions and determine the appropriate consequences. The board, chaired by Chief Peterson, included senior officers and the head of internal affairs. They reviewed the evidence meticulously, considering the severity of Jenkins's violations. James chose not to attend the hearing in person, opting instead to submit a written statement. In it, he articulated the impact of Jenkins's actions, not only on himself but on the community's trust in law enforcement. He stressed the need for officers to act without prejudice and the importance of maintaining public confidence in the police force. Jenkins, accompanied by his attorney, faced the board with a mixture of fear and resignation. His attempts to mitigate his actions were unconvincing, overshadowed by the clear evidence of his misconduct. The board, recognizing the gravity of the situation, deliberated carefully before reaching a decision. The board's decision was unequivocal: Officer Mark Jenkins was to be terminated from the Maywood Police Department, effective immediately. His conduct had violated the department's code of ethics, demonstrating a clear unfitness to serve as a police officer. The use of deadly force without justification, coupled with his racial bias, left no room for leniency. Jenkins sat in stunned silence as the verdict was delivered, the reality of his actions sinking in. His career in law enforcement was over, his reputation tarnished beyond repair. The consequences of his prejudice and abuse of power were severe, serving as a stark warning to others. Chief Peterson, though saddened by the necessity of the decision, was resolute in his commitment to upholding the department's standards. He spoke privately with James, expressing his relief that justice had been served and his determination to prevent similar incidents in the future. The Maywood Police Department issued a brief press release, announcing Jenkins's termination and reaffirming their dedication to ethical conduct and professionalism. While the incident was not widely publicized, it served as a powerful reminder within law enforcement circles of the importance of accountability and the dangers of prejudice. The incident at the supermarket was a painful reminder of the persistence of racial bias and the potential for abuse of power. For James Wilson, it was a deeply personal experience, highlighting the challenges that even a decorated veteran could face in his own community. Yet, it was also a testament to the power of integrity and the importance of standing up against injustice. James's calm and measured response, coupled with his decision to involve Chief Peterson, ensured that the situation was resolved swiftly and justly. His actions not only protected himself but also set a precedent for how such incidents should be handled. The support of his friend and the swift action of the police department reinforced the message that prejudice and misconduct would not be tolerated. The story of James Wilson serves as a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance and accountability in law enforcement. It underscores the importance of maintaining public trust and the responsibility of those in power to act with fairness and integrity. As communities continue to grapple with issues of bias and discrimination, stories like James's highlight the ongoing need for change and the role that individuals can play in driving it. Reflect on the importance of respecting veterans and combating bias in law enforcement. Share your thoughts on how communities can work together to prevent incidents like this from happening. Comment with respect if you believe in the power of accountability and justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire change.